here I usually do seasonal wrap-ups, but I feel like I usually have way too many books. Like, at least to me, I think I have way too many books on the list that I'm not really able to properly like talk about each book. On top of that, I just really want to like get through my TBR, my physical TBR specifically. So I'm making it more of a challenge for myself to read more books a month. So this month I read five books, which is not a lot compared to a lot of people. Okay, I don't know. Physical TBRs are a little bit harder for me to get through than digital. But also all of them except like one were really long. Like all of them are over 600 pages, and 3 of them I like started in January. Okay, so they were long books, okay, but I'm proud of myself. I managed to read all of them. Okay, so usually I will always start with the very first book I read and then, you know, get to the last one. However, this month I got my first ever ARC, which, if you don't know what that is, it is advanced reader's copy, which means you get to read it before it gets published to the public. And this was something that I did apply for myself. I had to go into like the author's link thing and like basically tell her why I wanted to get an ARC, and I got one. I will say though that like I have a lot of thoughts on this book, okay, and by the time this video is out, I have already uploaded my review on it on Goodreads. So if you're interested to read that, my Goodreads is in the description box, because I am giving a bit more details, because I don't remember all of them at the top of my head. Usually, at least I could be completely wrong, but usually when you get ARCs, you get to read the book like sometimes months before the book is published, or weeks. This book, we got this ARC last week, which was on Friday the 21st, I think, 21st of February, and it got published today, so we got it a week before it was published. Yeah, okay, let me just talk about it, okay? So this book follows like 6 POVs, I think. So it follows 6 or 7, something like that, characters who come together to find a lost treasure that is supposed to grant you wealth, and it also has magical properties. This is a pirate story, and which is why I wanted to read it. So I did not love this story. I found the characters to be very unmemorable. It's enemies to lovers. It's like childhood friends, I guess, to enemies to, I guess, potentially lovers. I don't know. It also has a love triangle. I absolutely despise love triangles because I just feel like you're wasting my time, because I already know who she's going to end up with, unless the author completely changes it, which I highly doubt, okay? It has a heist, it has an unhinged MC. This book found family. This book claimed a lot of things, and I just did not care for it. I found that there was no chemistry, whether that is romantic or platonic, with any of the characters. This is the first book in a trilogy, so obviously that could improve. I don't know, I don't even remember. I have it all written down, so please read the review if you're able to. I will probably never get an ARC from this author again. I'll put it that way. The MC was also inspired by Jinx. I just felt like she had no personality other than just like anger and throwing tantrums. So Rogue Souls, I read at the very end of the month. I actually finished it today, okay? So now we're gonna start with the actual first book I read this month. So I read The Well of Ascension by Brand. So this trilogy follows our main character Finn, who is a mistborn, who basically mistborns are able to get their powers from metals. So each metal has its own benefit. It can heighten your senses, it can heighten your, like, it can make you stronger physically, it can make you stay awake, among other things. I don't think this is necessarily a spoiler because it's pretty obvious. In the first book, our two kind of main characters is Finn and Kelsier, and Finn is an orphan, I think, in the first book, if I remember correctly. I read the first book like a long time ago. I believe she was an orphan or she was a slave, I don't remember, but she gets like saved by Kelsier, and she finds out that she's a mistborn, and he starts training her. So I'm not gonna talk too much about the second book because it's the second book, but I will say that I definitely preferred this one over the first book. I found the first book like so difficult to get through, and maybe the reason why was because I listened to the audiobook at the time and the narrator was a man. Not that that's necessarily an issue, but he would talk for Finn, and like I would have preferred like a female voice as well. I don't think that was the only reason. I wasn't a huge fan of the first book. I didn't really get attached to any of the characters too much, and to be honest, I'm not really that attached to any of the characters in this one either. I think Mistborn might just not be for me, you know. I will still finish the last book, but overall I definitely preferred this one. And I will say that Finn actually reminded me a little bit of Misaki from Attack on Titan. There's like a battle scene in the book where she's fighting these like huge creatures, and she reminded me a lot of Misaki when she was fighting them. I also really related to Finn in this book because she struggles a lot with her worth, specifically when it comes to her romantic relationship and her thinking that she's not good enough for him. But yeah, it was very long. It's like 700 and something pages. But I was also able to tap a little bit. I think the world that Brandon has created is very well done, in my opinion. Yeah. Alright, the next book that I finished this month was The Sword of Kaigen. So I started this book a while ago, like I think last year. So I need to like dig in my memories to remember what it was about. So this is supposed to be a high fantasy, I think. It didn't really feel like that. Like, it didn't really feel too high fantasy, but so this follows two POVs. So first we have Misaki, and then we have Mamoru, who is Misaki's son. Okay, and so this book talks a lot about like oppression of women, and motherhood. It takes place in a secluded village in Japan, I think. And the book, like the story takes place sometime in mid 1900s, but it doesn't feel that way. Like, they do mention, like, they don't really use phones or nothing like that. Like, the book, like, they live very traditionally, and it's very much giving 1500s, okay? Like, there's not really a lot of improvements in their society. So basically this book is about how Misaki kind of improves throughout the book and improves her like relationships. So there is like a war going on that does eventually take place in their village, but it's not like a huge part of the story. That's why I'm like hesitant to call it high fantasy, because like it doesn't really, the war portion is not that prevalent, or I don't know how to explain it. I can definitely see why people are giving this 5 stars. That's not really what I gave it, but I still gave it a decent rating. It did not make me emotional. Again, I did listen to the audiobook, so that could have swayed my opinion, and once again, it was a male narrator, okay? So that could have ruined it a little bit for me, but... And also, I've heard people say that they hate Misaki, and I'm like, if I find her insufferable, I will defend her with my life, okay? Because the situation she was in was so complex, and just people writing it off is just like so simple. She didn't have to do that, she didn't have to do this and this. I'm like, she lives in a society where women are oppressed. I don't know what you're talking about. But yeah, it was really well written, and I would recommend it. The next book that I read was Barbarian's Hope, which is the 11th, 12th, I don't know, barbarian book in the Alien Barbarian series. So this one, I remember I gave 2.9. This was definitely my least favorite. It still wasn't bad, but it was definitely my least favorite. This follows a character named Asha, who is also an alien, and another character, literally forgot his name, but he's of course an alien as well. And basically Asha had a miscarriage, and so she she closed in on herself and just used anger a lot on everyone, and she's not very nice to the girls in the first few books, and she just pushed away everyone, and also her like mate, and it just is about like them improving their relationship, and Asha kind of opening up more and trying to heal. And I actually very much related to Asha, I will say that. Just the way that she shows anger, I very much related to. I'm a very angry person. So yeah, this is like, funnily enough, I related to an alien barbarian spicy book. So yeah. And then the last book, the very, very last book I read this month. Well, actually it wasn't the last book. The last book was Rogue Souls, but the one before that I finished finally was The Auction. So this is a Dramione, whatever, fanfiction, Harry Potter fanfiction. I just realized I haven't like been playing with this at all. So I read Manacled like maybe 2 years ago or something, and I will say that I did prefer Manacled over The Auction. The Auction was not bad. I don't remember what I gave it. I don't think it was quite 4 stars, but close. It's kind of similar, I guess, to The Auction a little bit, just with the women being very oppressed and kind of being locked up in the Malfoy house. So what is it about? So well, it's in the title, The Auction. Draco Malfoy ends up buying Hermione because if he doesn't, then she will go to someone else way worse, okay? It's definitely a lot more like, it's not, I mean, there's definitely trigger warnings, okay, 100%, but it's not as dark as Manacled, in my opinion, at least. It's very slow burn. This book was also really long. It was like 800 pages. It took me forever to finish it. The thing is, it's not that it was boring. boring. It's just that it was really hard to read because like the lettering was like really small, so it took me a lot longer. I will always love Hermione and Draco Malfoy. Okay, this book was also spicier than Manicold, and I did really like the spicy scenes. I did. I think what made me give it a little bit less stars, or what made me like change the rating a little bit, was I would say the last maybe 5 or 6 chapters of the book. I wasn't a huge fan. Without spoiling anything, Hermione and Draco Malfoy are like apart for a few chapters, and when they like reunite, it was just very anticlimactic, and it ruined it a little bit for me. And also I feel like obviously Voldemort dies in the book, and the way that like it was never really shown, like it was told how he died but it wasn't really shown, and so I don't know, it just felt kind of like okay, he just randomly died. Okay, I don't know, it just seems like such a big plot point. I don't know how to explain it. Like Voldemort is like huge villain in the book, and also just like in the actual books. So for him to just like, okay, he's just dead now. Okay, wonderful. I don't know. I didn't really like that. But overall, I did enjoy it, and I probably will be reading some more fan fiction. I do want to read, is it called Secrets and Masks or something like that? I do want to read that one. Loki. And I'm pretty sure it's still on AO3. This book is not on AO3 or Manicold because they're writing an actual book. Obviously, it's not going to be Hermione and Draco Malfoy, because obviously not. It's going to be a new story, okay, with new characters. But, yeah. So, that is all of the books that I read this month. So, thank you so much for